Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learnings. I'm delighted today to be joined by Maxine Tappers. Maxine is a director at MTPC in York. So, Maxine, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's always nice when you get somebody that recommends somebody. So, I'm really looking forward to this. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the lettings industry, please.
So I got into the lettings industry 20 years ago. And the only reason I went into lettings is because I wanted to do recruitment. And here I am 20 years later, still here. Um, I still enjoy it. I started my own company in October 2017.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I still enjoy it day to day. It has its frustrations, but yeah, I still enjoy the concept of it all.
So, what made you veer away from recruitment into agency?
Well, I did actually get a job in recruitment. I was moving back from Wilmslow, so I used to work for a company called Jordan's, and Jordan's was franchising and sold out to Northwood. And as I was transitioning back to York to go and get that dream recruitment job, the franchise director said to the guy who owned Northwood in York, "You need to speak to Maxine. Like she's coming back to York. You need to speak to her, even if you haven't got a job, just speak to her." So I declined speaking to the guy who had Northwood Clark at the start. And then curiosity got the better of me, and I thought, oh, I'll just go and see what he's got to offer. And 3 hours later, he was like, "Please come and say you'll work for me." So I went and worked for him for 5 years, which was a great place to work. We sort of mocked up because we were doing the guaranteed rental, and it was just when the recession hit. So I'm very glad that I didn't go into recruitment because the recruitment company that I was going to go and work for closed down. So I'm glad I stayed in lettings. But yeah, it was a good move.
Things happen for a reason in life. So,
Yeah, exactly.
okay, so what were the lessons that you learned working at Northwood that you took into
Um,
your new business?
Yeah, I think with Northwood, it was interesting doing the guaranteed rental and how all that worked, and it was a perfect time to go and do it because, like I say, it was when the recession hit. There was people coming to us that they were in negative equity. Their families were getting bigger. They still needed to move to a bigger house, and we could give them the guarantee of that we'll give you X amount and cover their mortgage, so they didn't have to worry about it. So it was a good time to do it. Go into there.
So, what did that person see in you that recommended you to Northwood? Why did they take you?
I think I was a 20-odd-year-old, very hungry, ambitious young girl at the time. And I did sort of take to lettings like a duck to water. I had very good training from Jordan's. So the guy who owned Jordan's was the president of ARLA Propertymark at the time. So he was like, everybody who works for Jordan's, whether they're franchisee or the staff, have to be fully trained within 6 months. So I feel that I was blessed that I got fast tracked. But I was never really great at school, but I just seemed to really love lettings and absorbed. I think I always say like quarter of my brain belongs to lettings because I just retain the information of what I've got. And then it's like the building relationship side, talking to people. The first job I got from school, I left that because I talked too much. So I thought I better get a job that I can talk in.
Yeah. So, where did this hunger and ambition come from?
It's quite deep rooted actually. So I was actually homeless when I was younger with my mum. So the fact that I ended up in lettings and I've stayed in lettings is I do love homing people. So I don't just I love having my own business because it's my set of rules, and I'll help people regardless of. If someone comes to me and their situation isn't the normal situation, they may have got into a bit of bad debt, they may have split up with the husband. I don't just go, computer says no. I always try and help people the best I can. Also maintaining the landlords in a safe place as well. But I think that's where the hunger originally came from. is that, you know, I just wanted to help people that I've been in a very similar situation with.
Okay, wow, that's an incredible story. So, are
Yeah.
you happy to share a bit more about that story and how you ended homeless? And
Yeah, so my mum and dad split up when I was 7. And our family home got sold and we moved into a rented property. And although my mum's never really told me, I've worked out as an adult that we got evicted from the house that we moved into. And then we sort of moved around lots of different places there for a very short time. And then we didn't have anywhere to live, so we ended up in bed and breakfast. So there was me, my mum, my little brother that was 3 months old at the time. So we was there for about 9, 10 months. But it was tough because it was when I was transitioning from, so I was about 10 then. So I was transitioning from primary school to secondary school. So it was quite difficult because I was always quite embarrassed that we didn't have a home. So then it's just like this desire to help people that, you know, these things happen to us or for us. And then it's just kept that burning desire to keep helping people.
thank you for sharing that. So, that desire to give exceptional service and experience.
Yeah,
What do you think makes a good letting agent?
I think what makes a good letting agent is I think it's like being understanding of people's situations, and that, you know, it's not always, you know, that person on that high salary that or that's got the best job, or, you know, I think it's just really listening to people and listening to the landlords as well, of like when it's their home, they people might be just going away for, like I've had people where they've just gone away for 3 years. And they're coming back to their home and they want to know it's looked after. So it's from both sides of like looking after somebody's home from a landlord's perspective, but also it is somebody else's home while they're away. You know, so I think it's just listening and doing the best job that you possibly can, but also being honest with expectations that sometimes people have as well.
So, honesty in estate agents and letting agents doesn't really go in the same sentence.
Yeah.
Um, so, how do you demonstrate that the majority of estate agents, letting agents are on this, and how do you build this trust for both landlords and for tenants?
Yeah, I think it's just being, you know, when you say honesty, I think, and probably if you spoke to some of my tenants and my landlords, I think it's just I'm very much, I say it how it is. If somebody requests something that I know that I can't fulfill, I won't say yes. Or if somebody's like, you know, Max, I want to rent my property out and it's got to be this person. I'm like, you need to be realistic about it, or do you know what I mean? So I think it's just the interesting thing that has happened is that although I've sort of started the career, I've created my own business. I've created higher end, so I don't really take on the lower end market, and that's just where I guess my my business head has come on. And what I always sort of disliked about, I've always worked for sort of setups or small businesses prior to having my own, and I always felt that like as the company got bigger, the customer service dropped. So when I set up my own business, I thought I never really want my customer service to drop, and I do enjoy what I do day to day. So I set up a thing called the 100 Club. So I'll only have a maximum of 100 clients on the managed service. So I've basically put my money where my mouth is, but then what that had to do, it's high end properties and high end fees. So you know, I'm pleased with myself that I've also done that as well. So you know, it's yeah, it's good to, I think, just the complete honesty. So especially when I go out to see people, if you know, I can say you will be getting what you pay for. You will be speaking to me. You will be speaking. I don't want loads of staff either. Um, don't think it's the easiest part of the job managing staff. I think I'd probably rather manage tenants and landlords. So yeah, I think it's just gone into the customer service and the honesty.
Okay, so I want to talk about the 100 Club,
Mm,
um, and I want to talk about higher fees, and
okay.
also getting higher end properties, because
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of letting agents most probably struggle with two things. One, to find new landlords,
Yeah.
and two, to have a discussion about, well, do you know what? I can get it for a lower fee, so will you match it? So
Mm.
if we start with fees, how can agents demonstrate their value, that they are worth what they should be charging?
I think for me, it's I do also an investor service, so I help landlords purchase properties. And I think being in the industry for as long as what I have, I think landlords have this misconception of, well, it's only tenants and there's no point putting anything nice in there because they don't look after it. And I actually think it's the complete opposite. If you demonstrate that you look after your property, the tenants will then look after the property. And what you'll get in return is a higher rental. So for example, I work with a landlord. She purchased a property. The property was in a terrible, terrible state. It actually had a tree growing through the back window, so it'd been empty for 20 years. So she had me in right at the start, as soon as she purchased it, and she's like, Max, what shall I do with it? Like, what do I go into the loft? It was in a great location. Do I go into the loft? Do I not? What's the difference in rental? And I gave her two prices for the 2 bed and a 3 bed going into the loft, and moving the kitchen it was like a tiny little 2 bed terrace, and the kitchen was at the back, you know, the tiny kitchens that they have, like they're almost like outhouses out there. So I was like, move the kitchen into the dining room, do that as a utility room, go 3 bed and go upstairs. It's then more like a family home. And she literally kept in touch with me the whole step of the way, asking me down to paint colours, what she should choose, kitchen. We massively worked on it together. And we ended up getting 1695 for the property, which is probably £200 more than what other properties were getting in that area and on that street. And it's because it, you're creating a home for somebody. It wasn't just like whitewash walls, grey carpets. It was we creating a home for somebody. It's your house, but it's their home. So they see the value of like, well, she's going to get me more rent, and if she's gonna look after it. So we don't do property visits once every 6 months. We do them every 3 to 4 months. So we really do keep an eye on how the tenants are looking after the properties. Um, and you know, we're very, very picky on the tenants that we put into the properties as well. So you know, we won't necessarily take the first person that comes along. And I can hand on heart say I've in the nearly 8 years I've had my own business, touch wood, I've not had one rent arrear.
Amazing. Wow.
So it all goes hand in hand of like create the right property, set the landlord's expectations, set the tenant's expectations of what the landlord expects. And obviously, because the referencing process, they all have to be, and I feel awful saying that, of a better caliber of person, but you know, if the with the rent ratio 30 times on the referencing, you're getting people that are happy to pay extra because they want it to be a home. And I think the caliber of tenants have changed as well now. I don't necessarily think, you know, people used to always hate, like, look down on tenants, but a lot of tenants now, they rent their own places out and they rent themselves. I do that myself. You know, I'm living where I want to live, but I'm still on the property ladder. And you know, people move about but with work, but they don't always need to or want to own a property where they're working because they know they're going to be moved on again. So I think it's just working with the type of people, knowing what people are looking for.
So where do you find these tenants?
They come from the normal portals, so Rightmove, on the market, our own website. Um, the market seems to have massively picked up these last few weeks. I've just launched 3 properties this morning, and the phone's going absolutely off the hook. But yeah, it's still the usual portals. And I think as much as we like it all over, Rightmove do a good job for us, really.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to come back to landlords. So, you know, it's great that you've got three landlords that or three properties that you've taken on this week, which is absolutely fantastic.
Mm,
A lot of landlords are potentially selling at the moment because of
yeah.
renters reform bill. How are you attracting landlords to your business? If agents are watching this, what do they need to be do to stop that flow of properties going onto the sales market and for them to come onto the lettings market?
I think, I mean, I've not massively done a lot of marketing in my company. It's been a lot of recommendation and referral. And I can be completely honest, I've been in the industry sort of like 12, 12 years before I set up my own company. And my landlords used to follow me from agent to agent. So I worked for two or three agents prior to setting up. So I set up and I had a lot of landlords follow me. It's then all sort of been recommendation referral. So because I only do lettings, I work with a lot of estate agent only agents in York as well. So I have a good relationship with them and they refer their landlords to me. And I have like reciprocal deals with them. If my landlords sell, I refer them to that agent and I get a fee. So it works really well. I think for me, it was always just specialise in one thing. And I know that a lot of people do estate agency lettings and holiday lets and everything. I'd just rather focus on the one thing. And I think from doing that and networking and reviews, like get your reviews. We've got 5-star reviews out of 83 reviews on Google. And I think it all just builds up to building that of who you are and what you want to do.
So I'm just starting my lettings agency and I'm new to the business and I want to network to get my name out there.
Mhm.
Where would you suggest are the best places to network?
Honestly, oh, just go out and speak to people. If someone says to me, Max, do you want to come to this networking event? I'm like, get nervous. I'm like, oh God, like that's so much pressure going out and getting business. You say, Max, do you want to go for a drink on Friday night after work? I'll probably pick business up so easily. And I think it's just literally speaking to people. Like you could go and sit in a cafe. Like there's loads of independents in York, which I'm sure there is loads of places. But just go and sit and get talking to people because landlords could be anyone. It's not like we can go to one place and go, well, that's where you get your landlord from. Just go and talk to people. And I think there's a lot of networking groups now that are property related. So I think it's just going and speaking and being yourself and say what's your USP, what's it about, why have you set up?
Okay, thank
And
you. Okay, you also mentioned the importance of Google reviews.
yeah,
When should I be asking for those reviews if I was a letting agent?
I think if you set people up straight away, that you will be I always say, look, the business has grown from recommendation and referral. If I will be asking you for feedback, and I'd really appreciate if you could give us it. So we would prep that with both the landlord and the tenant. The tenant, when they come to sign up, we ask them how they found the service. And then they would let us know. We'd then send them an email saying, please would you do as a Google review? And then we also send them a welcome to your new home card. And it also asks them there again to do that. And then landlords, once the property's let, if they'll usually come back and say, thank you, Max, and it's been great. And I'll say, would you be kind enough to do us a Google review? I don't pay for Google reviews. People either do them or they don't. They're
Okay.
genuine.
Okay, so just something that you like there. I like that little touch. Welcome to your new home card.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a little thing for people to being memorable and then
Yeah.
remarking about you to other people. I'm not going to believe this. A letting agent actually sent me a nice card. Welcome to your
Yeah.
new home.
You know what we also do as well? When a tenant has left one of our rental properties, and they've left the property absolutely fine, we've done a full bond return, we send them a thank you card to the new home saying thank you for being a great tenant and ask them to review again.
Brilliant. So again, it's just for anybody watching that, it's just those little things
It's
that make a
little
massive
things.
difference.
Yeah, this is what it's not the big things because, at the end of the day, we all do the same thing. We all do tenancy agreements. We all do the paperwork. Those things are just a given, but it's those little things that you remember. And I think it's sometimes thinking of the service that you get when you go to your local bakery or your coffee shop or wherever you go. It's just those little things that people remember.
Okay, I love that. I think that's great, and I think
Mm,
that's fantastic value. Just want to come back. I'm conscious of time, so thank you. So I
right.
know you've got all those properties to let, and all those phone
Yeah.
calls coming, all those phone calls coming in. So you talked about ARLA
Mm.
earlier on Property Mark. Why do you think it's important that letting agents are qualified?
I think that, first of all, I think that you're drawing legal contract up. There's no way that you would go to an unqualified solicitor for something. And basically, we're a form of a solicitor. And I think it's good that for your staff to understand the whole process. I think sometimes when companies get too big and they have to pigeonhole, and I get that they do to a certain extent, but I think to have the qualification and also the security. I mean, I set up by myself. I'd always been part of a franchise before, so you had the franchise who held your hand, and I always had ARLA. And I think I'd have been a lot worried if I hadn't have had ARLA to have set up by myself because I could ring them about different things. So I think being qualified, I think, is really, really important. And getting your staff qualified quickly, I think it's really good as well. Because people, you know, you can't say anything wrong in our industry. Do you know what I mean? If you say that people, it's legals. So I just think it's not everybody should be trained to a certain basic knowledge to be able to come into this industry.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. So I'm going back to my lettings days a long time ago. And I remember, for some reason, I was the only person doing lettings, and it was August, and it was bananas, and it was
Mm,
crazy. And I think I did 40 lets, which meant that I had to get all the different references,
yeah,
had to draw up all the contracts,
yeah,
organise all the gas certificates,
yeah.
organise everything else. And I used to come back, and I was like absolutely exhausted. Um, how do you deal with stress, and how do you manage your time?
Um, that's a good question. I've definitely got better at it. I actually, I've worked very recently with business coaches, life coaches, mindset coaches, and honestly, I think if you have your own business and you would struggle with managing your time, with managing life as well as work. I think it's definitely worth investing money in those things, in those one-to-one things. Um, the I always think as well, it is a stressful job, and I think making it fun. Like I always say to my colleague Bella, who works with me, you'll never work a day in your life if it's fun. And it's just making sure that you you're giving you enjoying it as well, and you're making it fun, and you deal with your time accordingly. Obviously, when I first set up, I was working ridiculous hours, and when I look back now, I think, where did I get that stamina from? But I probably, if I had to do it again, I would, because you're passionate about it, you love it, so you always find the time. Um, and yeah, I'm good at enjoying myself. I think sometimes you just got to cut off and be quite disciplined with time.
Do you make
So,
it fun? Give us examples of how you make it fun.
um, so we always celebrate our wins. So I think it's really important to celebrate your wins of what you've achieved. We have nice lunches, we have nice coffees, we take time to have a bit of a chat. I think it's just really work-life balance and just make it fun. Just like don't be too serious. It's a serious enough job. just have fun with it.
Brilliant. So look, thank you for being a great guest. If people want to get hold of you and find you, how do they do that?
You can contact me on my email, which is Maxine at mtpcyork.com.
Perfect. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure you're going to let those three properties today and get even more on. So thank you for
Yeah.
being a great guest. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Appreciate it. Until the next one, and please like it, share it, and get the message out there. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.